Welcome everybody to the Rotating Tap Podcast. We've got Steve Vanderploeg, Korey, David, and special guests. Maybe beer people talking comedy or comedians talking beer. Listen up everybody and we'll see what you will hear. I won't waste any more time cause it's going very fast. It's the Rotating Tap Podcast.
Stop touching things.
This is why we can't have nice things.
We already did break something today. We've been here for less than 15 minutes. Well, you got a lot of them. You're wearing overalls, so that makes sense.
Let's see the best part, though.
Whoa! She's stashing
nice
a beer
pocket.
glass in her chest
Yeah,
pocket.
there we go. Okay.
Oh, that's way better.
It's called a snack pocket.
A snack
Snack
pocket?
pocket.
For like a beer snack?
Or anything.
Yeah. Slim Jim.
Granola bars.
M&M's,
Old leftover tacos, whatever you want it to be.
banana runs. Since
Well,
we got a bunch of those.
Hello.
Welcome to the Rotating Tap Podcast. I'm Korey David, and I'm here with...
Steve Vanderploeg. We are both stand-up comedians who love beer. Can you believe it?
What a coincidence.
Crazy. We're here at Chain Reaction Brewing Company today with Chad and Skylar.
How's it going, guys?
Hello.
Hi. How are you today?
Pretty good.
Good. Cool.
Not bad. What's going on in the brew house today?
Moving some beer around. We moved a pink peppercorn saison into a bright tank, and we'll be cleaning some kegs later.
Fun.
Oh, boy.
Who doesn't love cleaning kegs? Cool. So as stand-up comedians, often the first thing that we are asked when people find out that we're comedians is tell us a joke. So today we're going to flip the card on you, and we're going to ask each of you to tell us a joke.
Glad we gave you plenty of notice.
Still doesn't help.
I know Skylar's got jokes.
Oh, should I start then?
Yeah, tell us a
for it.
joke.
All right. Where does the captain put his armies?
Where?
Oh, in his sleeveys. That's all I got.
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
We
This
will
is what I have
take
Put it on the
board
board.
all day.
Count it.
I just got fired. So.
Still have to do the podcast, though. Chad, you got anything?
I just want to say that I'm disappointed. Leopards are nowhere near as sexy as I've been led to believe.
Okay, well, you watch some weird porn, but that is okay.
You also haven't met the right leopard.
The right one's out there.
Or did you say leper or leopard?
Leopard.
Oh, okay. I was going
Leopard?
to say you haven't met the right leopard. You haven't met
Hey, they're out there too.
either one, yeah. They all have their fine qualities. They're missing a few, but they have some good ones.
They're related to cougars somehow.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
Well, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
That was pretty quick.
That's pretty fun jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So the other thing that we like to do right away, comics, what we have in the industry is called a Type 5, which is a 5-minute set of your best material. So for a Type 5 for you guys, we're just going to have you kind of go over your history with beer, how Chain Reaction got started. Skylar, a little bit about your history. Just try and keep it about 5 minutes, but let's hear some more about the history here.
Yeah, cool. Chain Reaction started about 5.5 years ago, but we really started long before that. Myself and Zach are cousins.
Zach's the other owner.
Yeah, Zach is the other owner, and we both, really liked food, liked creating stuff, just hung out all the time, and one day we had the great idea that we were going to start homebrewing, and the homebrew turned into, we went from the kitchen, and we really liked it, and decided we wanted to go a little bit bigger, and so we decided to collect some kegs, cut the tops off, and we built a system. And while we were doing that, we met up with another brewer in the industry. His name's Tim Myers. He owns Strange. He's the brewer over there.
Oh, cool.
And Zach was a beer writer, and so he went in to interview Tim when he first opened, and they just immediately hit it off and, just chatting about beer and getting tips from him. And so we'd go in, once a week. Tim used to do this, well, he still does it. He does a thing called One Barrel Wednesdays. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But just weird one-offs, and it started off with him and his buddy Harry, who owns Black Sky, just getting together every Wednesday, grabbing a cup of coffee, some pizza, and brewing just a random one-off beer, something weird, something different, something that you don't see every day.
That's awesome. That's so much fun.
Do you remember anything that comes to mind that you were like, this is really awesome, it's kind of kooky, and everybody seems to dig it?
My favorite that they've done, it was an accident. It's called Cherry Bomb, and it's their Cherry Creek, but with stout malt in it. So it's basically a chocolate-covered cherry.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And it's delicious. One of my favorite beers that they do over there.
I feel like the best stuff happens by accident, right?
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
like, oh, I didn't even think to do that.
Yeah, like when Korey gets a laugh on stage. Whoops.
Hey, every once in a while, it feels real good.
Skylar, what about you? You've been here for a while now.
I think 2 years now. Started bartending while I was finishing up school. I got into Metro's brewing program. Just kind of couldn't decide what I wanted to do and what I wanted to spend 4 years of my life doing. And yeah, brewing is just awesome people. It's a cool craft, and I like the science behind it. So
Yeah. Science is cool.
It's way cool, yeah. And I don't have to be a lab rat, so that's good.
Well, what made you want to get into brewing specifically? Was it just like you liked drinking beer and you thought you had like a mechanical mind, so I could do this better myself kind of thing?
It's more just a lot of the science behind it was, I was originally into biology and then learning more about fermentation and everything. And, there's this industry behind it that allows me to work with my hands and create something and, just enjoy people too. Because it's got a huge social aspect behind it.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Is there anything outside of beer that you've had fun with fermentation?
Not that I've done, but getting into distilling or stuff might be cool. I took a wine class, and if I decided to get hoity-toity, I'd go into that. But.
Yeah, but beer people are a lot cooler than the wine people,
Yeah.
essentially. A little less snooty.
There's a lot more beards in this industry, too.
Yeah. Well, for somebody that doesn't have a beer, that's a weird thing to consider to be a good asset about it.
Just because I can't have one doesn't mean I don't want one.
I can't grow one either, so we're in a similar boat.
Yeah, Chad and I are over here looking like real party animals.
Yeah, it just happens. I don't do it.
Yeah, it's so much easier to not shave my beard or anything.
Exactly.
So how'd you go from like next steps from working with Strange and then all of a sudden deciding like this is what we want to do, we need to find a space, like next steps?
Yeah, so next steps was we just brewed, and we brewed a lot. So we both built kegerators. I had a 3-tap, Zach had a 4, and every weekend we brewed double batches and kegs double batches, and sometimes we didn't have space to put that, which meant we had to drink a lot because, we're not wasting beer. Back when we used to bottle, we didn't want to pay for bottles.
That used to be the excuse to drink a lot.
Yeah, that was the excuse.
What's your preferred method for mass consumption? Is it keg stands, funnel, shotgun, traditional?
Traditional. I drink pretty fast anyways, so...
Full disclosure, too, Chad and I grew up together. We played hockey on the same team together for like 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, it's
for a
amazing
real
that
long
he still
time.
wants to talk to you.
Well, I don't get it either, but yeah, so we grew up playing hockey, and one of our other hockey buddies, his dad was a home brewer and would let us drink underage on his porch at a very young age. So we've been drinking craft beer for a very long time.
Talk about the cool dad.
Yeah.
Totally.
He also
Gave
needed
you
someone to
scratch-off.
drink his beer, so
Yep.
Gave you
he could
scratch
brew
off,
more.
Gave you scratch off lotto tickets and Marb cigarettes and decided to pass you a pint.
Quite classy.
Just wanted to be one of the boys.
There were a lot of like stick and poke tattoos that went on that driveway for sure. It was a good time. Cool. What segment you want to do next, Korey?
What segment do I? Well, we've been sipping on this beer that we've got in front of us for a few seconds now, so I feel like it would do us justice to actually talk about it. So what are we sipping on?
Yeah, this is our... it's called There's Always Money in the Banana Stand. It is an American-style half, so it's a little bit hoppier than your traditional half is, and it also pours clear, which is completely different than what you'd expect seeing a half. We like it just because it's a little easier to drink several of them. They don't really get heavy for you, which is nice.
It's also a great Arrested Development reference.
Oh,
Very
absolutely.
good. Very good.
Glad somebody picked that up.
I don't
So-
think anybody else would have.
So was the clarity just directly correlated with the level of consumption? Like you wanted people to be able to consume a little more, so an unfiltered beer will just have like more residual yeast. Just a sec.
We got a business transaction going on here, so Chad's going to step away for a minute. So I don't know anything about how they make this beer, what's going on. Ooh, we got a package. What is it?
So have you had a hand in brewing this one, I assume, right?
Yeah, I've helped with a few batches of this one. It was actually the first beer I had when I came into Chain Reaction, so it's special to me. It's fun when people ask about it, like, oh, is there bananas in it? And I always like to take that chance to like just geek out on them really hard. I'm like, no, it's actually a byproduct of the yeast. It makes a banana flavor in it. So you get that in German beers. They're just usually a little bit more heavy and have that more clove taste to them.
Yeah.
So
Do you feel like there's definitely some idiot out there that has brewed with bananas because they didn't realize there was a yeast strain that could handle it?
you know,
I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
I just would hate to clean anything that you put bananas. Oh wait, you know what? We've brewed with bananas.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Some
We are
idiot
some
out
idiots.
there?
We're those
Way to
idiots.
go.
Gotcha.
We brewed a
Boom, got it.
banana bread beer. Yeah, that was awful to clean out. Yeah.
So what does that entail? Because, so Hefeweizen yeast strain will predominantly have some banana and clove type flavors. This one's like really mild on the clove. Like you don't get a lot of spice on that from the yeast.
Yeah.
Now, two questions, I suppose. The first being, what kind of tames that down a little bit in the fermentation process? Where is it just the type of yeast strain that you're using, or is it literally a stoppage in fermentation at some point that kind of minimizes those flavors?
A lot of it's the type of yeast because we don't use a. What do we use again?
We use a Bavarian Hef strain. It was isolated from a brewery that is known for throwing a lot of banana flavor, not a whole lot of clove.
Okay.
And then to really boost that, it all depends on how you pitch. So you're looking at stressing the yeast out. You want to pitch like 40% of what you'd normally pitch, and then you want to under-oxygenate as well. That way the yeast is really stressed out, and it's going to produce extra phenols and extra
How do you?
flavors.
I just think it's funny hearing stress the yeast. Like, oh, the yeast has a big test in the morning. If it doesn't pass,
It's
They're
late on its
sensitive
rent.
creatures. Okay.
that's
Yeah.
fun.
Okay, so you've got the yeast strain that you really like to use for your hef, but then you'd mentioned the banana bread beer that you guys used to make or had made at some point.
Yeah, that was one barrel that we did. It started out as a tribute to Zach's youngest daughter that was supposed to be named Banana Grandma, and I think she should have been named Banana Grandma.
I
heck
still
yeah.
call her BG.
Oh, nice.
For all the cool kids. Of
course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one's amber ale loosely, and we put 30 pounds of bananas in
Yeah,
there.
roughly 30 pounds. It was a
Wow.
whole crate of bananas.
Did you guys get the result that you wanted from that, or was it
Oh,
too
yeah.
mild of a flavor?
It was banana-y.
It tasted like banana bread.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah, it was
Good.
awesome.
Yeah, that's,
Definitely want to play with the spices a little bit, but we got the banana characteristic we were looking for.
Oh, neat.
awesome.
So is that something you guys would be doing again, or was it just a one-off, one-barrel kind of thing?
I definitely want to do that again. That was something that we'd been tossing around for a little while, 'cause, especially with Banana Stand, people always ask, is there banana in this? And so that was a fun way to actually play with it.
yeah. No, bananas are in pajamas. No
Clearly.
bananas in beer.
And Steve
all right,
still
listen,
watches
yeah.
toddler shows.
Well,
have
I'm
you,
a kid.
have you
so-
guys ever had Wells Banana Bread beer?
I have, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever seen the tap handle for it?
No.
Oh my gosh, just wait till you see this. Okay, so we'll post a picture of this whenever we put the episode up.
For all our listeners at home looking at this picture right now,
It's okay. Hold on.
check out www.pinterest.com.
Okay, so what does that look like to you?
A very phallic banana.
Yeah.
Yep. That.
It's like King Midas's dildo. It's a big golden banana of a tap handle. Pretty wild stuff.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, so you
Big
guys should
golden
figure something
banana.
like that out for when you make your banana bread beer the next time. I think it'd be a big hit.
Nice. Well,
All right.
I think we should move on to our next segment. What do you want to do?
Well, I picked the last one, so why don't you get into whatever you think it should be fun to talk about?
Are we ready for the chug off yet?
I don't know. Are you guys ready for the chug off?
I guess.
We got a chugging
Chad looks like
leaderboard.
he's
Yeah.
ready.
So the chug leaderboard is essentially you guys bring us what you
Warm
consider
mine
to
up,
be
though.
your most chuggable beer. So first thing you're going to do is just tell us what it is, and then the second thing is you chug it, and then the third thing would be you tell us about it. So don't tell us anything about it other than the name until after you've chugged the beer.
Oh, good.
Okay?
Who wants to go first? We're going to go one at a time. Let me get ready to enter these numbers in. Skylar, are you going first?
I'm gonna let Chad go first, just so
Chad-
I can
Chad's
like,
going
take over
first.
Set the
Chad.
pace.
To be fair,
To be fair.
the best score so far is Jason over at Flight Co. And the worst score so far is by a lot, and that is me. So that's good.
Yeah. And
so
that was painful to watch.
pretty low bar here. So whenever you start going, we'll start timing you.
All right, cool. The name of the beer is Baby It's Kolsch Outside.
Ooh, baby, it's Kolsch outside.
Don't people hate that song now?
Yeah. Don't worry, this beer is not as rapey as that song.
That's fair. Time.
All right, 5. You have 6:04.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good time.
He practiced at Big Beers all weekend, though.
Yeah, that's fair, though.
That's almost a disadvantage.
However you
in
want
my
to
mind.
train for this competition is up to you. Nobody told you how to do this.
That happened to Broken Compass while we were up there. We ordered our shuttle thinking we'd have 10, 15 minutes. And so ordered a couple of beers,
Oh, no.
get back to the table, and the shuttle pulls up. It's like, oh, shit. All right,
Yeah.
let's go.
I love Broken Compass. Their beer is so good.
They make phenomenal beer, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the altitude or what, or just they know everything. We'll hopefully get them on the podcast because their beer is fantastic.
Is it pretty
Yeah,
just like
Ford's a great
traditional
guy.
stuff? Do they do any type of style, like in particular?
Most popular is they do a coconut porter.
Oh, heck yeah. Sounds pretty awesome.
It's pretty good.
Skylar, you ready for
Alright,
this?
I suppose.
Okay, is it the same beer?
Yes.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Wow.
Pretty
Oh,
good.
just
I don't know what she was intimidated about. This is looking pretty stellar. Done.
7:03 is the time on
It
that.
hurts so bad.
Yeah. Well, now you got to tell us about the beer.
Oh, good.
Yeah, while you're burping. It's great.
Yeah.
Just burp. It's
So
I
what
see
goes
what
into
you did there.
so what goes into the beer? Type of grains, flavors we're getting.
Chad knows that off the top of his head. I just got back from vacation. Okay.
Yes. It's a good thing you're still drinking beer.
This is just your classic Kolsch, so you're going to get a little bit of fruitiness, but it's really showcasing the grain. So it's going to be like light straw with just a touch of fruit, little bit of hops, just classic crushable Kolsch.
Yeah. Do you guys do a lot of like pilsners, lagers, things like that?
We don't do a whole lot of them. Just being small, we don't always have the taps or the tank space to age them for the requisite amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Your typical lager is going to take 5 weeks minimum. We actually have a Doppelbock in the tank right now.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
One in a port barrel that was used to age or to finish bourbon, which I'm really excited about. So we'll be pulling that out in the next month or so.
Okay. Skylar, anything you want to say about the beer?
I mean, he pretty much covered it. But
Figured now that you were less gassy, you might be able to.
yeah. No, it's an easy drinker, but it has enough flavor to it that keeps you wanting more, and it's not super big, so you can definitely have a few of it.
nice.
Chad, now you had alluded to having the Doppelbox in barrels right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
We got one from Rocker Spirits down in Littleton, and when we're finished with it, we're going to give it back to them, and they're going to do something fun with it.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
that's pretty awesome.
Good barrel trade.
So,
yeah, exactly.
So how long have you guys been running a barrel program? What do you usually like to do in it? That kind of stuff.
We've been running a barrel program since the first year. We we were mutual friends with someone that worked for a barrel supply company. So, he was always hounding us to get barrels, and so we started off with a tequila barrel and a Chardonnay barrel, and we used the tequila barrel to age our Hatch Chili Amber.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it was awesome.
That sounds great.
I still miss that beer. And then we've got a pink peppercorn. Saison, still resting in a Chardonnay barrel. One of the first things we did, we put a big Imperial Stout on, and not really thinking, still being pretty green to the industry, we capped it a little hard, and as it warmed up, it started creating pressure. And we were brewing one day, and we looked over, and it was seeping out of all of the staves just because it was under pressure.
Damn.
And I went over to just burp it a little bit. The bung shot straight to the ceiling, and it just started geysering out. And I'm trying to keep all the beer in, so I just slap my hand over it, and it just ends up spraying all over the place.
A la like dishwasher that you see
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
in a comedy.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had a similar. I'm not much of a home brewer. I've done it a couple times, but I remember one of the first times I'd ever done it with my roommate at the time. We thought we were so cool, and made this stout.
You still
really
think you're
impressed.
cool.
I still think I'm just hopefully doing a little better of a job at it at this point. I don't know if that's true. You guys can tell me after. But we'd made this stout. We were super proud of it because it tasted fine, but then it had continued to carbonate and ferment in the bottle, right? And I was talking to this girl about it. We were on a date, and I'm like, we just made this killer home brew. You got to come back and try some. And I crack one open, and it literally geysered to the top and filled the entire kitchen. I'm like, well, if you want to drink it off the floor, I'm sure it'll probably still taste pretty great, but Have you had a lot of incidents like that where you had like something explode in the brewery or guys are out of a barrel?
That was about the only one here. We learned that lesson real quick, so now they're loosely fitted, and we make sure that they're warm, the right temperature, so they're not going to swell when we transfer them over.
Yeah, that's probably a tedious learning process, because you probably didn't have a lot of barrel aging experience in your homebrew days, and that's a whole new element that you have to deal with.
Yeah, that was a new learning process, and it was fun picking up a couple of gallons of fresh beer off the floor. Yeah,
Nice.
Do you still have that tequila barrel? Is that what you're saying?
we don't have the tequila barrel anymore. It's an old barrel, so
tequila barrels.
tequila barrels, like, they typically get them from bourbon distilleries because you can only use bourbon once, and so they'll send them down to the Caribbean, and they typically use them for 30 years, or at least that's what they look like.
Yeah, wow.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Do you ever worry about any contamination issues from collecting in the wood or anything?
It's kind of that, it's always that risk. You do what you can to mitigate it, but at the end of the day, if it's there, it's there. There's not a whole lot of ways that you can clean wood, so...
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Some soap, little scrub on the wood.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Now,
hired.
you guys are all over the map. So, I mean, you've got a great Saison that's made with pink peppercorn.
Yep. Yeah,
Right?
pink peppercorns, coriander, and orange peel.
Now, with pink peppercorn, like, why that as opposed to just, regular peppercorn or another adjunct or anything
For
like
the
that?
palate.
Yeah, coming from just...
Thanks, Steve. Nope, you're right. We can just move on. We don't need to hear anything else about it.
They were pretty. We liked the color.
What was your first CD? You have to answer both questions. So why pink peppercorn, and then what was your first CD?
All right. So pink peppercorns, coming from a culinary background, we really enjoyed like that bright berry flavor, and we thought it would pair well with the Saison, and that was our first beer that we brewed for a competition when we built our all grain setup. And we've since refined it and changed it, but we always just couldn't get away from that flavor combination.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big seller of yours, right? Like,
Yeah, it's one of our top sellers consistently.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we pass to people when they're like, I don't really know. I'm not really a huge beer drinker, so that's something that's approachable as well. But it's nuanced enough that people that know beer still very much enjoy it as well.
Yeah, and that Saison yeast strain is one that's really hard to like dial in. Similarly to your Hefeweizen yeast strain that you were using
Absolutely.
for the American Hef. It's like Saisons are all over the map, and sometimes if you don't have a good wrangle on it, it either doesn't do what you want it to, or it just the yeast dominates every flavor component of the beer.
Yeah, definitely. We played a lot with different temperature profiles as far as what was the best temp setting for fermentation. If you're too low, you get a lot of bubble gum. This strain, we can go pretty high and get a lot of pepper flavor versus bubble gum, which turns a lot of people off to Saisons.
Yeah, fair enough.
nice.
What made you guys want to get into the seltzer game? Because you've got a seltzer on tap all the time, right?
Does anybody really want to get into it?
We didn't want to.
Smart. We're just smart.
You didn't have a Truly or a White Claw and be like, we've been fucking this up the whole time.
Oh my god, this is the best thing ever.
We should have been doing this the whole time.
Yeah, we kind of made it as a joke for our 5th anniversary. We threw a Letterkenny themed anniversary party. It was super soft. And we went all out. We had a unicorn, a cotton candy machine, mini cupcakes. We made a seltzer and did elderflower and watermelon. So pretty much everything that we could think of that was super soft. We were cleaning up feathers from our feather boas for like 6 months. I'm sure we'll probably find one in the next week or so.
It's actually Skylar's unicorn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brought my horse over and dressed him up like a unicorn.
You have a
Covered
horse?
him in glitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was covered in glitter.
People
Took
own
like weeks
horses.
to get that
Well,
off.
I get that, but I mean, that's an odd fact.
Welcome to
I just
Denver.
learned.
It's
Do you
the
ride your
cowboy
horse
town.
to work?
No.
No. Would you?
No.
Oh. Would you ever deliver a keg with your horse?
No. I definitely did, though. I was like, Chad, we have to do this. Like, I need to bring my horse.
That was
Yeah.
the first question.
And-
It's like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I tell people about it. They're like, "Is like, can you do that?" And I was like, "Well, I hope so, because I've told everybody about it. So now it has to happen."
Does your horse have a permit?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a unicorn. There's clearly a horn on the head.
Yeah.
Obviously.
You can clearly see the permit stapled to his horn.
Well, and then we had the tricycle course set up, so I
yeah,
raced somebody on the tricycle, like, got on my horse and raced into it.
So every brewery is essentially just turning into a child's play area for adults. Is that all? That's what we really want, right?
Well,
we
that's
want bounce houses. We want big Jenga sets. You know, we just want to be kids,
And
but in
beer.
a brewery setting. Yeah.
Yeah.
With adult beverages.
Exactly.
Except I know this is going to come up on a lot of our podcasts, and the kids and breweries thing is a very controversial subject. And so I don't necessarily need you two to touch on it because I feel like I already know where you're coming from, is that if the parents are drinking beer, fine. But I personally hate kids and breweries. Just throwing that out there. It's a bar. It's your sole purpose here is to serve alcohol, not to entertain a bunch of kids.
You know, if the kids are quiet and they're not running around, that's fine.
With that being said, Steve is available for babysitting and nanny purposes because he needs the money.
Yeah, bring me the kid. I'll take it to the unicorn and let it kick it in the head.
Whoa.
Harsh.
That escalated quickly.
So Skylar, just because I think we'd be remiss to not talk about it, but it's not as common to meet women brewers in the industry, and I think it's pretty awesome that, like, I don't know, you just are obviously a very proficient brewer and somebody that people respect in the industry. I mean, tell me a little bit about what that means to you and just the scene in general, and maybe other women getting into more prominent positions at breweries.
I definitely don't think that it is as male-dominated as a lot of people think. There have been really bad experiences. I know some people who have been looked down on for being female and all that stuff. But, you know, I think as long as you prove your worth and you prove that you're just here to be part of it, then you should run into fewer issues. For me, you know, I had a lot of people like, oh, yeah, you should get into that. You'll have the advantage because you're a woman. And it was like, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at, I love this and I love these people. And this is what I would just want to be a part of. So, you know, it's that I'm not a female brewer. I'm just a brewer.
Just a brewer. Yeah,
That's fair.
totally. I feel like it's the same in comedy, too, where it's like I'm just here to tell jokes. Pretty much everybody in comedy is just there to tell jokes except for Korey. So.
Yeah. I just mostly get up there and be sad and just give TED Talks and
You just cry and people laugh at you.
just cry. Yeah, I've actually got a pretty lucrative business as a sad clown. People are really into it.
That's rare these days.
Yeah. It's mostly for birthday parties where somebody's getting divorced. That's the bulk of it. So I understand that you want to, you just want to be seen as a brewer, and that makes tons of sense. But I definitely do think that it's great for other women to see that this is possible. Like, you're capable, and it's not about being a man or a woman. It's just like, I think a lot of people, they set their own barriers to entry without there actually being some. Be like, oh, that's mostly a dude's field, you know, why would I bother, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So being prominent and being successful, I definitely think helps make it more of a diverse industry.
Yeah. It's all about making it what you want it to be.
Yeah.
This is kind of changing the subject. I'm looking over our categories for our topics for today, and this one just says dropped pot pie. What's up with that?
Oh no, I'm still sad. Well, yeah, I was trying to eat my lunch and I had some pot pie and an awesome glass Pyrex, and I decided to just toss it. Yeah.
Like a frisbee?
No.
Were you angry at the pot pie?
I
Or
was
the Pyrex?
just so nervous about meeting you guys because you're such big celebrities.
Yeah, we're pretty
Yeah,
popular.
pressure.
super famous.
People like us.
Yeah, man.
Oh, sorry, I have to take a call. Beyonce is calling me real quick. Hold on 1 second.
Does she want any chicken pot pie? Because I'm pretty sure there's some still on the floor.
Oh.
You didn't even get to have any lunch today, then.
Oh, I did.
Okay,
No,
great.
we keep noodles here.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fair. I was
Because
gonna say,
we're
you're chugging-
responsible adults who make lots of money.
Yeah.
Yes, and we eat ramen.
If we're going to be chugging beers, you got to fill your belly with some ramen and noodles.
Who
Although-
was it? Someone did a ramen beer. Who was that?
That was
us.
us.
That was you guys.
Yeah,
Yes.
you guys
Yes.
do all the weird adjuncts. I mean, so all right. So while we're on that subject, you've used bananas, you've used ramen noodles. Tell us a little bit about the ramen noodle beer, and then maybe some other like adjuncts that you want to use or that you have used and it wasn't the way you thought it would be.
Skylar, do you want to take this one?
Oh, I don't think I was here for the ramen beer, though.
All right. So
I was in
Started off
school
on
that
me.
day.
It was unfortunate. It started off as a joke, and there's a festival every year called Collaboration Fest, and you know everyone does something weird, one-off stuff you'll probably see once, never again. And we were brewing with.
You're never going to make the ramen beer again?
I don't know. We might revisit it. We'll see.
Okay.
I want to play with it. The noodles interacted kind of weird and gave it almost
You can just burp into the microphone. We made you chug that beer.
bubblegummy quality, which didn't really go with the ramen flavor.
Could be a cheap substitute for Saison yeast.
True.
Just throw some noodles.
So was it beef or chicken flavored beer? I missed that.
Shrimp.
It
Please say
was
shrimp.
creamy chicken.
Okay. Not creamy chicken.
Yeah.
Sounds like a hazy IPA that's waiting to happen.
Yeah. And then we used a bunch of just random spices, courtesy of Danny Wong. He's currently at Firmly. He used to own Caution, and he decided to pivot and open a QA/QC lab. And they're doing phenomenal, and helping out brewers make sure their beer's the best it could possibly be.
Cool. Pretty neat. Any other adjuncts that you guys haven't
Did you get
used
paid
yet?
to say that?
I'm gonna get a check.
Okay.
Yeah, just cut us 10%. But is there anything so it sounds like you like to use a lot of wild adjuncts as things that are unorthodox. So two things. Is there something that you want to use that you haven't yet that's kind of weird, or something that you have used that we're like, man, this also didn't turn out the way we were hoping it would?
Hot dogs.
All right, go on.
God damn it.
This is a shout out to Bri-Fi, who used to be Chad's assistant brewer. He now is in Nashville. But
Dude, what's the brewery that he works at out there now?
Bearded Iris.
Bearded Iris.
Yeah.
Yeah. I miss Bri-Fi.
He was dead set
Don't we
on
all?
getting Chad to make a hot dog beer.
Is this
which
a Limp Bizkit tribute?
awesome.
Or?
No, it's awesome though because he's a vegetarian. So
Yeah. So he wants to brew it, but he won't
drink
be able to drink it.
Yeah.
And
That's just cruel to
So-
everybody else, I think.
right.
He just wants to make everybody else suffer with boiled hot dog water, and then whatever you want, just dry hopped boiled hot dog water.
essentially.
That's like PETA's ultimate revenge. You love meat so much. Try
Melting in
this.
beer.
It has been done. There was a brewery a number of years ago that actually brewed a beer with a whole hogshead in the boil.
Oh damn.
And they said they would never do it again.
Was it
because-
Hogshead Brewery?
No, I don't remember where it was.
Because
but
it summoned Satan? Is that what happened?
it might as well have cleaning that mess.
We tried to go first, didn't do anything. Then the pig's head, and then Satan showed up for the tasting.
When you accidentally summon demons.
Yeah.
As long as they drink.
It's just a day. Yeah.
My dad boiled hot dogs when we were kids, and I never once thought, you know what, this could use more Citra.
I'd like to talk about this, if that's okay with you guys.
Nope.
Okay, well, never
Steve,
mind.
If you could just leave, that'd be great.
So, okay, bye everybody.
I'm just salty because I threw a pie at you.
Just kidding, I'm back. So one thing we like to do on this podcast, there's a lot of people that come to breweries and they're just not happy, and it's never really the brewery's fault. But they decide to go online and invent a little bit. So I'm going to have you guys read a couple reviews for Chain Reaction Brewing Company. This first one I know a little bit about.
Is there anything that's coming to mind already before we even show you?
I've got a handful, yeah.
Okay,
I think
Smash
we
Mouth.
read this one. Oh, this is a new one. Terrible service. Rude people work here. I brought a large group of 50-plus people here. I double parked behind the owner's car, apparently, I was told, as I unloaded things for the party. Was there maybe 5 minutes or so, rudely told I can't park there. I said, yes, I understand. Give me a minute and I'll move. He said, move it now. I asked, does someone need out? I'm blocking only one car. I'm moving it in a couple of minutes. He scolded me like I was a child. I'm like, dude, I brought you 50 customers. Be nice. He said he was nice. What a loser. I will drive out of my way to go elsewhere. There's plenty of beer in town, man. Don't need that kind of treatment.
Man, this guy's dropping dudes like it's going out of style. I'm like, dude, I'm moving my car. There's this unicorn in the way.
I just think it's so crazy to just like unexpectedly 50 people is a lot of people.
Did they not schedule that with you? They just showed up with 50 people?
They just showed up, from my understanding. Like, dude, I just brought you business I packed the house without you guys expecting it.
50 needy customers.
You should be so grateful for us.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
I don't remember this one specifically, but generally we have people move when they're double parked just because if one person does it, the next thing you know, 6 people are doing it, and all of a sudden you've got a parking lot. And Yeah, so
You mean you guys don't offer valet?
I wish.
We should.
Skylar, I'm going to have you read this one here. It's the very top one.
It was delicious. Good beer, good peeps. And 3 stars.
3 out of 5 stars. A very...
Sweet.
What does this person need to get to 4 or 5 stars if everything about the experience?
You know, they're
is
probably
great?
on Untapped. So.
This,
They
I
think they know
believe,
stuff.
I believe this one's from Yelp.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's either Yelp or Google reviews where I get most of these. And for sure, they really were a big fan, but you only get 3 stars.
Yeah, man.
I want to see
delicious.
what gets 4.
Yeah, you
Right.
should look into the person and see what kind of
He probably
stakes
actually
they're
spells
dealing
out
with.
people instead of peeps. I guess that's
So you guys obviously see what people post on Untapped and whatnot. Is there anything that comes to mind for you from like an Untapped review that you were like, well, that's a bit ridiculous?
Oh, no, I don't actually look at Untapped. I just know
Yeah,
how
I don't.
people
Like,
use
if
Untapped.
I'm feeling a little high on myself, I might go and look and get knocked down a couple of pegs. But
Well, how do you feel?
We need that for comedy.
Well,
man.
it's the same
if you could rate
thing.
people's performance.
people will say like, "Oh, I don't really like Kolsch beers, but I had this one. It was good." And then they give it like 2 stars. And so, well, why did you drink it if you don't like it? You
Or
know?
Right.
why'd you feel like you needed to rate? Well, people rate
Yeah.
it so they can get the points and they can get badges and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
What do you get with the badges on Untapped, though? Like a
A bigger
it's the
ego.
prestige.
It's
Yeah.
prestige from other nerds.
tight.
Yeah.
My favorite review is still we didn't skip Smash Mouth fast enough. 1 star.
That's the best.
I'd give you a 1 star if you didn't keep it on. You know?
Yeah.
If you don't just play the whole album from start to finish, 1 star, and I'll
Just
burn this
all
place
star
to the
on
ground.
repeat.
I think
Hey,
the best
now,
part
you
is
get 1 star.
ah, boo.
That quick.
All right.
Don't quit comedy, Steve.
Oh.
So with that being said, it seems like you guys have a pretty punk rock aesthetic here in terms of like pop punk that you play while brew day is going on. Like, is it usually like pop punk? Is it hardcore? What do you guys usually got in the brew house?
It's mostly bees.
Yeah, my brother's a huge pop punk fan. We listen to a lot of pop punk, but we listen to a little bit of everything. It kind of depends on who gets there first or who gets sick of whatever's playing. We've just started a recent game of figuring out the most ridiculous thing that we can put on for the next person to find.
Probably Smash Mouth, to be honest.
I think the best one was the Gregorian chanting,
That
which
was
is
a good
like
one.
monk
Oh,
throat
that's
singing.
wild, yeah.
Yeah. The worst part was Bees left it on that night, so I came in and turned on the stereo, and it was already playing. And I was like, "Oh, this is great! I'm gonna leave this on for Chad to come in." And of course, Chad picked that day to come in like 30 minutes late. So I sat here cleaning kegs and listening to this shit for like 30 minutes. But then he showed up, and of course he was hungover, so just had to leave it on. So,
And I had been in the day before, so I already knew it was coming.
oh no, you didn't tell me that. I was like trying to wait it out, and I was like, "Who's gonna change this first?" I think I had to change it first, but I was so
Are
ready.
you done?
I have one more review here that I'm not going to read. There was I saw one about Comedy Night here, which was voted Westward's best comedy night of 2019.
Hey,
That was all me. Thanks, everybody.
We totally knew about it.
None of us had any idea, and the city just voted for us. So that was a really cool thing to wake up and find out.
Yeah.
It was really important to me because my friend had died that day, and so it was kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel. So it's a pretty good comedy night, but one person was like, they should be careful with who they give the mic to.
Well, yeah, because they gave it to Steve.
Yeah, really just doing a terrible job.
nice burn.
In a similar sense, we have a review here. 2 stars. The Office trivia night was a bust. The MC reread the questions and answers. Waste of time. The scoring tool too long. The atmosphere is great. Very industrial. Add more seatum. Maybe be patrons were sitting on the floor. That is just gross and unacceptable. The food truck is a great idea, but a bit pricey. It's like,
That was
Yeah.
totally our fault.
what?
Sorry about that food truck that we own, clearly.
Sorry you suck at fucking Harry Potter trivia, too. Like, that's Office trivia. It's all the same.
Are all those things so terrible that you felt like you needed to give a bad review to somebody on the internet and voice your opinion about it?
Clearly. Yeah.
Right.
They felt guilty about getting a seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all that privilege.
Yeah.
Should be giving up this seat.
I like The Office.
Cool.
That's all I got. That's it.
Events
I think
like
other people
that,
agree.
yeah, we know they're going to be busy, and we put signs up, and we tell people like it's going to be pretty packed, and like just so you know, if you're not partaking, like you could find it annoying, like. Just so you know this is happening, there's going to be a lot of people. And people still find it necessary to say stuff like that. So.
And how often do you guys do Brain Reaction Trivia here?
First and third Tuesdays
First
of every
and third
month.
Tuesdays, yeah.
Cool.
They do a
You guys
great
do
job.
a lot of events here by the looks of it with the different posters on the wall. So can you tell us a little bit about comedy night, maybe some of the memorable nights or comics that you've had here? Because we had the show this past Friday, and it was amazing. Place is always packed out, really awesome comics. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we've been really fortunate to kind of come out of the gate swinging. When we started doing this, no one was doing comedy shows in breweries, and Steve approached us when we kind of first opened, and it's like, hell yeah, that sounds like a good time. Let's give it a shot, see how it works. And we've never really had a slow one. Our bigger problem is, how do we fit more people in
Yeah,
here?
all the seats. Everybody's
all the
sitting on the
seats.
floor.
People
like
standing room only.
animals.
Sorry, and to be honest, we have violated fire code maybe one or two times here.
Yeah.
No,
And
we
All right,
haven't,
maybe
Steve.
we don't broadcast.
it'll never happen again. It'll never happen again.
Ever.
But it's also like, it's a popular
It was
night.
unexpected.
Exactly. And we tell people, get here early for seats, and in terms of comedy, it's a good thing because now people have to get here at like 6:37 to claim their seats. But it used to be people could get here at 7:45 and still get a seat.
We had about 20 people sitting on kegs for the last show.
Yeah, that sounds about right. We're getting to the point where we're going to have to invest in a just rolling set of extra chairs.
Yeah, probably. So that's a pretty useful way to utilize your kegs when they're not full of beer. But did I see you guys have like a workout thing here too, where people use the kegs and stuff?
Yeah, brewery boot camp.
Okay, what have you guys done? Have you participated in that?
I have.
Okay.
They are brutal. They're still very fun though. They make it more personal training kind of style, but you get here an hour before the bar opens and just do a workout, and then your payment for the class comes with a beer. So
Okay, that's pretty sweet.
yeah,
And you use kegs for some of the workouts?
yeah, just empty ones, but
Pretty sick.
makes it pretty.
I have not. I'm busy.
Well,
I
you
just
lift
come
more
to drink
kegs.
the beer.
yeah. I lift the kegs when they're full. I don't need to lift empty ones.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of being in shape, one of the things that we like to do is drink other people's beer besides your guys's, which everything's been fantastic.
Also my
so
favorite
far.
thing.
We also enjoy beer. So we decided to bring in something from Black Project, which does spontaneous and wild ales here in Colorado. This particular beer is called Shadow Factory, and it's a sour wheat with cranberry and boysenberry and 4.5% alcohol. So
And it is fuchsia.
oh boy,
Yeah, it's very fuchsia.
it is hazy. And,
I would say a magenta even.
oh yeah,
it
dragon
could
fruity
be.
kind of color.
All right.
All right, fine. It's like a trailer.
Wait, you don't want to get in
Well,
the
cheers by the
color
way.
discussion?
I don't know. You guys seem to have it covered.
And Steve's drink.
I'm wasted.
I'm not getting the broom back out.
Pretty heavy mouthfeel for something that, I don't know, you would normally think to be like a lighter sour, but I mean, I'm sure that's coming from like a fruit puree.
Yeah.
It's also
Yeah.
not like super sour, which is something I appreciate. I'm not a huge sour beer fan. It's got just the right amount of sour, maybe even a little light for the sour, but
Yeah, and it kind of eases in too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
Definitely
good.
say the fruit gives it a good balance. Doesn't just sour for the sake of sour.
Yeah. Sometimes it's something is so acidic that it's like it could strip the paint off your car.
Yeah.
That's like hot sauce for me. At a certain point, I'm like, this is just too much. Like, you can't taste anything else.
And yet you keep putting it on.
Yeah.
Or
So it's
maybe
probably
that's
like,
just me.
I would think lactobacillus, right? I mean, it tastes
Why
like
would I
it's
like
just straight
this?
acetic acid. I'm not getting like a lot of like pediococcus or anything like that from here.
I would imagine so, but I know they don't pitch anything. It's all
Oh, no.
caught in a cool ship. So, yeah, they've just opened the windows. They're just a little, what is it, east of here?
Yeah, that's how
A little
directions work.
southeast.
That's awesome that they use a cool ship too. I mean, is
Yeah.
that something that you guys have ever wanted to try to experiment with, like more open fermentation, or is it just too much?
I
of
mean,
an
we had a
undertaking?
kiddie pool here for a few days, and
That's
I was
pretty
really
cool.
convinced we needed to have a pool ship for a beer.
God damn it.
I'm fired again.
She's been fermenting in this wild ale for 3 days.
I don't know. There's some children, people's feet in this pool, and we're gonna make a beer in it. So.
And the dogs.
Oh yeah, the dogs. They're the best.
Yeah, but for souring beers, I know that's obviously a little bit more of an undertaking because of space, because of potential cross-contamination. Like, have you guys done anything like that here?
We have not. We've talked about doing a kettle sour, and we've had some issues with our kettle recently that have kind of put that on hold. But hopefully sometime in the new year we'll get that taken care of, and we'll be able to give kettle sours a shot. We don't really want to do the full sour program just because of the risk involved.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And if that's not your hallmark or something that you have a ton of experience with, why all of a sudden make a big shift to do that?
And there's plenty of people in the market making phenomenal beers. To try and do it just to do it, it's a risky gamble.
Yeah. You guys just did your first hazy.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
It was hazy for a week.
Is it not hazy anymore?
No, it's dropped
Oh,
out.
it totally dropped out?
Yep.
Quick, go shake the keg.
Yeah, just flip it upside
Doesn't
down.
work.
Damn.
Now, what were you guys using to haze it with?
Hops and a high-protein malt bill.
Okay. So you weren't using like any additional adjuncts or like oat or anything like that for
A bunch of
haziness?
oats.
Okay.
But apparently more.
Then the horse ate it.
Yep.
Does your horse get any of the spent grain from here?
No.
No, I've heard it's good for him.
Yeah, I don't know. I just spend lots of money on grain for some reason. So.
Yeah, but you have a
It's way too
free
much work.
grain facility here.
Moving grain is a pain, though. It sucks.
I
I've
can fill
Do you
the
eat a lot
trunk
of
of my
grain,
car.
Steve?
I've
Do you-
moved grain.
Do you eat a lot of
I
spent
move grain every day. You want me to be in your workout program? Give me some grain.
You know, you sound like a workout problem.
I'm not very muscular, so.
Sorry, what should we get into next?
One of the things we like to talk about in the beer industry are cease and desist orders. And I found one from a couple weeks ago that I really enjoyed reading about. This is an article I found titled Hysteria Brewing Releases #MVP Beer with Updated Can After Legal Dispute with NFL Over Use of Lamar Jackson's Likeness. So basically, the NFL sued Hysteria Brewing, which comes out of Maryland, and they sued them over, we'll put this online too, it's a picture called #MVP, where there is a person in a purple uniform, football uniform, carrying a hop like a football. And
a logo on the jersey?
it says Hysteria Brewing.
Oh.
And apparently the NFL thought that looked enough like Lamar Jackson, even though there's no face. It's like, oh, he's black. Yeah. Let's just make sure that we got to sue them for this.
Well, official brewing partner of the NFL. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's they can probably afford the sponsorship.
Come on.
Yeah. But just kind of interested, we like to talk about cease and desist orders just in general, if you guys have any good stories of ones that you've heard of. But really, I think that this one's a little bit ridiculous because the NFL just has so much money, and it's like, at this point, by the time that this episode's released, everybody knows that Ravens are already out for the playoffs. They're not going to win. So it's like, why even bother? It's one of those things.
They want
Yeah,
that small
sports.
brewery money, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're a threat to their.
Go after the little
Brand.
man for sure.
Yeah, they know you guys are raking it in hand
All
over
those
fist.
Yeah.
independent businesses.
Technically, we can talk about this on the podcast as much as we want. If we were to describe any of the plays that happened in any football game during the season, they could come after us as well. But since we're not talking about the content of what happened in the football game, this is totally legal.
Well,
I
good,
feel like
because
you
I don't
were
even
in
know
s-
how that works.
You were insisting on getting this podcast shut down, and we haven't even recorded more than 2 episodes.
Suck it, NFL.
Yeah, I'll do it. Fuck it up first.
So have you guys had any cease and desist yourself, or have you had like a beer name that you had to change from its original state?
We haven't had any cease and desists. We try and do our due diligence to make sure that we're not using a name that someone else has already coined and it's using. So yeah, we've been fairly lucky that way. We've had a couple that you kind of expect them, but they're all jokes and we're not really. It's parody, so
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of your beer titles here are pretty comical, like the "How Are You Now" you
Yeah.
guys had.
Yeah, do you got any personal favorites from beers that are on now or beers in the past?
Beer will be tapping in early February. It's called On Wednesdays We Are Pink. It's one of my personal favorites. It's hibiscus lime wheat.
Skylar got really jazzed about that.
That's a good one.
Shout out to Mean Girls, because for some reason we're all fans.
That's the best.
It's a great
When he
movie.
says
Exactly.
we, he's referring to all of the males here.
Yeah.
I don't think
bees.
I've actually watched that movie all the way through myself.
You've never seen
You've
Mean
never
Girls?
watched
I
Mean
mean,
Girls.
I've like watched it, I've seen it, but I
While
don't
three
know.
dudes are being mean
Yes.
girls
Yeah.
to the one girl at the
Just
table
And then-
without watching Mean Girls.
We also
Exactly.
have our Citra IPA. You can't Citra with us.
Nice.
And when
the
those
gin
two,
barrel-aged version of On Wednesdays We Are Pink, I'm a cool mom.
yeah,
Nice.
we have like at least two of those beers on at one time. And they're like, "Is that a Mean Girl reference?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and so is that one because I work with weird people.
Well,
Voluntarily.
you can't Citra with us anymore, Skylar.
If we just keep kicking
That's
people off
fair.
this podcast, it's just going to be Chad talking by the end of it.
That's
So,
all right.
one of the things that I used to get a big laugh about from working in the beer industry was shit people say at tastings, and I'm sure you guys get a decent amount of that, like at the bar here when you have new customers come in or just irate ones that don't know what they're talking about. So, how often do you guys do you have anything that just tastes like regular beer? What's the closest thing you have to Bud Light? Or do you serve
Yeah.
anything but beer here? Like that kind of stuff.
I mean, what else do you have besides beer is a really common question. It's the other upside to having the seltzer, and especially people who ask because of celiacs or gluten intolerance.
Oh, yeah, I am allergic to gluten. Let's go to this brewery.
Well, some people
I'm-
don't have a choice. They're like, I need to hang out with my deadbeat husband for the night, and this is what he wants to do for date night because we hate each other. So,
Like people have parties and stuff. It's like, okay, I can get invited to a party, but it's at a brewery, and they're like, a lot of people are very nice about it, and they really understand when we don't have anything to give them. But the seltzer really helps with that. So, a huge bonus to it, even though it started
Yeah.
out as a joke.
We didn't want to. We had to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of where the industry has been going lately. Like, everybody's making seltzers now.
Yeah.
Just having a gluten-free option, an option for people that don't like beer, it keeps them here for an extra drink or two.
Yeah,
So.
and we'll leave the other grain options up to places like Holiday that are really good at it. So
yeah. So, with that in mind, I think that one of the things that draws a lot of people to the seltzer category is the fact that it's like low calorie, low carb, that kind of thing. Have you guys had any conversations about how to tackle that without making a seltzer? Like whether it be like a lower calorie beer or a lower carb beer, anything like that, or something outside of the box?
I mean, it's the same thing. If you want cake, just eat cake, and if you want beer, just drink beer.
Yeah, that's fair.
We tend to lean the other way. The way you typically make a low-calorie beer is either decrease the alcohol or use an enzyme to increase alcohol production, and that's where kind of the brewed IPAs came from. That's been something that the big boys have been using for a long time to increase alcohol production.
Big boy from Outcast, or
Yeah, totally.
okay, cool.
Him specifically. But yeah, so it cleaves long strain sugars, so it ends up with a very, very dry final product, and you don't end up with any residual sugars. We found that it gives you kind of a different mouthfeel, different flavor, and we ran with that and added blackberry puree, but because it's us and we like big beers, we went the other way and made it a bigger beer, so we didn't go for the low-cal option.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know, like some of those low-cal beers, I get why people drink them, but I also don't at the same time. Like Michelob Ultra, if I see somebody ordering a Michelob Ultra, I'm like, you better be running home to your house in Thornton because
Yeah, that's how they're hydrating.
I don't get it.
Well,
Your beer in between beers.
Yeah.
So you make seltzer because it sells and it gives people another option. Are there things that you guys you really like that just aren't big sellers, but you wish they were? Any particular styles? Like, because I love Baltic porters, just as an example. But it's something that not a lot of people drink, and I'm sure is a slow mover in a lot of tap rooms.
I mean, to me, like stuff like our spicier beers, like the Hatch Chili Amber, or we do a Cilantro Serrano Lime Wheat beer, and stuff like that is just hard to get people to open up to. I understand with the hatch chili, people don't like the spice to it, but even the cilantro one, my dad is one of those people who absolutely hates cilantro.
Right.
Oh,
He
yeah.
drinks that
Keeps
beer.
coming up.
Yeah, he drinks that beer, and I tell people like just give it a try. If you just taste it and you don't let that ruin your mindset of it, you'll probably like it.
Yeah.
Some people I get with it. Some people are just too stubborn with it. But yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. Mine's Dark English Mild. It's one of my favorite styles,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you never see them anywhere. And cask beer in general, like it's difficult to serve, difficult to sell. You kind of have to build a setup around it.
It's like a
There's-
whole system.
Yep.
Yeah.
You mentioned Hogshead, and they're doing it very, very well.
That's basically all they do, right?
They do like 50-50. I have a problem with going there because, I just need one more.
So you have a problem
one
with
more.
getting home from
Yeah.
there, not
Yeah.
getting there.
Problem is,
Yeah, the problem's
gotta-
not getting there.
You got a few problems, and it's not really Hogshead's fault.
what is it about cask beer that you really love? Because I'm in the same boat as you are. I love them, but it's so
Oh, yeah.
hard to find a good cask program. Because even places that do wind up getting them, they don't know how to handle it and attend to it. And a lot of times, if it's already been on for like 2 weeks by the time you get to it, so it's like totally vacant of the good properties of oxidation and
Yeah.
all the flavors that you want.
Yeah, I just love that. The mouthfeel, the little bit of oxidation, just something different, something very traditional.
Yeah, I mean, you just get so many different flavors and textures that you normally wouldn't
Absolutely.
get from a CO2 beer.
And because it's naturally carbonated, just that like smoother mouthfeel from the CO2.
Have you tried cask here before?
We have done a couple. We've got 2 Firkins that we'll bust out occasionally. We're going down to Firkin Rendezvous in Colorado Springs mid-February, so we're gonna prep one here in the next couple of days.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Is that a festival that they
Yep,
got
it's
down
a
there?
festival that everything is served off Firkins. It's a good time.
Sweet.
I don't know for sure, but it's typically held at Bristol down there. They've got they bought an old elementary school and turned it into a brewery.
Nice.
And-
What every elementary school should become.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And churches.
Yeah. Really, just
Yeah.
any place of education at all should just be a brewery.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know
learn
about
more.
churches though, because then we can't get screwed over by taxes.
I mean, they kind of they serve.
She's got a point.
Yeah. One thing we like to talk about too on the podcast is your first beer that you absolutely loved. We talk a little bit like for me, mine was Blue Moon. I can't stand the stuff now.
Mine was
Welcome.
Mine was Sam Cherry Wheat. Was like the first craft beer that I ever liked. But then I
Aw.
remember very vividly, like my first IPA that I ever liked was Harpoon out of Boston.
Okay.
What about you guys?
Mine was 1554 from New Belgium.
Oh yeah, that's
A beer that they've never figured out quite what exactly it is. They've changed styles on it a dozen times.
Do you
It's
think?
technically a Schwartz, right?
Now
Okay,
it used to be
yeah.
a black lager, and then it was a black ale.
Do you think Kieran's gonna be able to figure that out now that Kieran owns them?
I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
They're just gonna get rid of it altogether. They're like, it's all light beer now.
I've heard Schwartz beers are big in Southeast Asia, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll go over awesome.
Ooh, they might have a riot on their hands if they get rid of 1554.
Yeah, it is a
It'd
great
be a
beer.
tough one to
Yeah.
get rid of.
Well, it's so awesome to have. Like probably one of the same reasons I like Baltic porters and Schwartz beers, like dark lagers like that, is you get all these awesome characteristics that you would normally have in a stout or something like a darker ale, but that dry body of a lager that makes it so much more drinkable.
Yeah. We had a friend brewing at Blue Moon for a little while that made a Russian Imperial Stout with a lager yeast.
Damn.
14% and just the smoothest thing you've ever drank. It was very talented.
Yeah, that sounds
Sounds
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Drinks. Everybody heard that I call it. That was my voice. Let Steve call it the drinks.
Skylar, what about you? Do you got any your memorable beer experiences?
I was working at Old Chicago when I started getting into craft beer
Oh,
and
I
everything.
love where this is going already.
So yeah, I would work my shift and then have a flight of a few of their guest taps and everything. And I think I have to say that Big Bad Baptist was what did me in.
That's
Yeah.
that's big too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was that like 14% or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Love my big beers, but yeah, that one was just the complexity behind it. I was like, okay, there's a lot you can do with this, and that's what also sparked my curiosity behind.
Yeah, totally. Nice.
What about your first craft beer experiences? But do you remember like the first beer that you ever had? You know, whether it's like a light lager when you were 16 or something like that. You snuck one out of the fridge. Anything that you guys can recall?
I remember being very young. Sorry, Mom and Dad, but you know about this. When I was 6, and they were like, it's the kids like, oh, what are you drinking? I wonder what you're drinking. They're like, all right, you're not gonna like it. Brother hated it, sister hated it. They handed it over to me. I'm the youngest, and I was like, this is awesome. I like beer. So they kept an eye on me, and now they support my beer habit.
Do you know what kind of beer it was?
Bush.
Yeah.
I love the hesitation and the noise too. And they could tell from a very young age that you were a prodigy.
Yeah.
Some kids jump on the piano, and the other ones grab a 6-pack.
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
They're not bummed about it, though.
I wouldn't say like Bush is prodigal by any means.
Well, no, I mean the fact that she just had a taste for beer when she was pretty young.
If you want to call Bush beer, let's go for it.
The first time I ever had a beer, I spit it out. It was warm Budweiser, so that didn't work out well for me.
Ooh, no, warm's not good.
Yeah. But it was one of those things you wanted to be cool. Someone like snuck it to school, and then on the walk home, you know what I mean? They were like passing it around.
I mean, I may have been 6 drinking beer, but like you're bringing beer to school.
Yeah, I mean, not me. Well, I would have, because I'm pretty cool. I'm cool.
Keep telling yourself.
Because I'm a cool guy.
Buried in the dirt behind the temp building.
Mostly, so it was Bush to start, but your parents are really supportive of the fact that you're a brewer. And are they local, or do you get to bring them beers, that you guys make here, or what?
No, my parents are actually almost always in here when I work in a bar shift.
Oh, awesome.
They're at all of our anniversary parties and everything. My first
Do they
job.
ever come to comedy night?
I don't think they have come to comedy night.
Posers.
They said they should watch who they book here for comedy.
Well,
they
told,
wrote the review about the bad comic.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know, that Steve guy's here. I'm not sure about it. But
That's really awesome.
yeah.
They support you like that.
Yeah.
Chad, do you remember your first beer experience?
I don't remember my first. Good chance it was probably Corona or something light.
Yeah.
Just that was the era. No one was drinking good beer.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just mass consumption.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Drinking beer on the hockey rink.
I was going to say, you two grew up drinking together, so are you going to really tell me that there's not one single drinking story from back when you were kids?
I think now's a good time to mention Faderade.
Faderade? Oh, no.
Why did it take so long for us to get to Faderade?
Faderade.
Go on, please.
Faderade is like you would put vodka in Gatorade
As you do.
Yeah, of course.
and get faded. Hence the name Faderade.
Yeah.
If you could put Darth Vader in a Gatorade, you'd call it Vaderade.
Nice.
But this was Faderade.
Yeah. It's like a screwdriver for when you're on the go,
It was interesting because like when we played hockey together, it was like for a long time, especially like middle school, early like freshman and sophomore year, we were in very competitive leagues, and it was like fitness, drink water, workout, eat carbs, that kind of stuff. And then by like our senior year, most of the kids in our league were like, let's get stoned and drunk before the game.
Smoke cigarettes between periods.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that kind of, I think Faderade definitely was a thing on some of the benches. I wasn't doing it because I still wanted to play, but...
Yeah, Mr. Dudley Do-Right over here.
Well, I'm
Nerd.
very out of shape now, so...
What about vodka and Pedialyte? How about that? That's a good flavor combination for most people.
You're a monster.
I am a monster. It's called
Yeah.
vodka Pedialyte's basically just called breaking even.
It's called
You're just
Pedialyte.
No, Pedialyte comes after the vodka.
I know, but when you just don't have time.
I don't have time for this. I gotta get fucked up and fix it all at the same time.
So before we wind down the podcast, one thing we wanted to do is just like tell us what you think Chain Reaction means to you guys, and what you want your customers to take away when they come in here, because you have great regulars that are here all the time, that are very supportive, and it's awesome that you guys have such an awesome following for the comedy nights and whatnot. But what's the hallmark of Chain Reaction? When people walk away, what do you want them to remember?
And don't just say the flag, because the flag that you guys put up on the wall is absolutely amazing. People definitely see it as a thing. And you guys built that yourself, right?
We did,
Which is
yeah.
absolutely incredible. It's giant. What is that, like
12 by 24.
12 by 24, just a giant wooden Colorado
And
flag.
for people that obviously can't see it, so it's a giant wooden panel flag of Colorado. So
Oh, thanks for repeating the giant wooden part. As if
You
I
said
had-
well, you said giant flag, and I don't
said-
really know.
I said
what that-
wooden.
Okay, great. So we'll move on. So Chad, can you tell us a little bit about the giant wooden flag of Colorado that's on the wall that Steve definitely didn't mention?
Chad, I'm going to go ahead and take this one for you. It's a giant flag, and it's made out of wood.
So is it wooden?
It's the Colorado flag, and it's got some wood, and it's giant, and it's 12 by 24, and it's I don't know if you ever seen the Colorado flag. It's a C with like the sun in it, and then a few stripes, and it's all made out of wood, and it's giant. It's 12 by 24.
Yeah,
Chad?
Steve totally covered it.
It's like you made it.
But when people leave this place, like, what do you want them to remember, or why do you want them to, like, make them regulars here? People that come back all the time.
Definitely probably remember all the random unicorns hidden throughout the brewery.
Oh yeah, can I mention that? Can I
Yeah.
mention there? So there are currently 12, right? 12 unicorns hidden around the tap room. It's
We have a
12.
list now, it's 12.
One of
We have a
them,
list now. Oh my god.
So it's you have a list where all the unicorns are.
Yeah.
and if
Because
somebody
Pay
we
extra
couldn't-
to see the list.
if somebody finds all 12 of them, they get a free pint.
No, they just get a high five.
Okay, if
All
yep.
right. Well, that's a lot less.
We get that question a lot. It's like they're like, what do I get? It's like a crisp high five. They're like,
I think Bri-Fi might have said a pint back in the day, but that was a while ago. So you get a real nice high five.
He doesn't
But-
work here anymore.
Yeah, he's dead to us. Rest in peace, Bri-Fi. There are
Please listen to us.
they're very hard to find though. Like a lot of them are very well hidden.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time finding places that they wouldn't necessarily be easy to spot.
Yeah.
There's one or two that starts the conversation, and then we just kind of went nuts with it.
Yeah.
And there will
I know where all
probably be
12
more.
are. I'm proud of it.
The success of this business is based around how well we hide unicorns, and that's what people should know.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Obviously.
Well, thanks a lot for being on the podcast, guys. All the beers were delicious, and the comedy nights are always fun.
Yeah.
So
Second Fridays of every month, Comedy Night at Chain Reaction, presented by Rotating Tap Comedy. By the time this comes out, I can announce that Chris Fairbanks will be the headliner of the next one, which is a huge get. He's so funny. So that's a really good one. But any second Friday is always a great time down here.
yeah, so check out Rotating Tap Comedy on Facebook or Instagram. Do you guys want to plug anything, social media wise or event wise, before we get out of here?
Nothing off the top of my head.
Bri-Fi sucks.
Nice. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.